NSATA members, thanks for joining us. Today, President Marshall and I are pausing with past President Steve Brace. Hi, how's it going?
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
We are thrilled to have you here with us.
Most people would say.
Well, we are. We really are. A few questions for you.
Okay.
What makes you most proud to have been an athletic trainer in the state of Nebraska?
What I would say is the growth of the profession here. I was one of the early athletic trainers once we had licensure. I was license number 57, so I just tell you how old I am. But, the growth has been tremendous, and obviously there's a lot more growth to be had. And there's been a lot of growing pains, mm-hmm. and we, when I was president, tried to start the process of expanding our Practice Act. And while we weren't successful during that time, I think it laid the foundation for the growth that we've had, especially in the non-clinical or the non-collegiate, non-scholastic setting. So very proud of that, mm-hmm. and the young people that have come and followed in footsteps. So,
mm-hmm. Well, you were a trailblazer for us as an association. So I just want to say thank you for being one of those. We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for you.
No, we wouldn't be.
So thank you. Since you've been president, or and since license number 57, what changes or change throughout the state of Nebraska within the association have you noticed or are proud of or stands out to you?
What I would say is, again, the growth of it. We were very small.
Mm-hmm.
I know you met with Doug Long here recently, and Doug was, I think, vice president or maybe treasurer at the mm-hmm. time. But there were just very few, throughout the state, especially outside of Omaha and Lincoln.
Yeah,
there really weren't very many. And I think probably a couple things that also stand out to me is the support that the NSATA has been able to give the NSAA
mm-hmm.
with the state championships and those types of events. I think we have really, really taken a strong step forward in public relations, as mm-hmm. well as just visibility overall.
Putting ourselves out there. And
and guys like Scott Martins, mm-hmm. who see it just about every event.
Yes.
They've done such a great job of representing our profession, representing the NSATA. So those are really, really proud moments and proud things to think about.
To be a part of the NSATA.
Yeah. And Steve, you've been a great leader on so many different levels, and you've been surrounded by other great leaders that have come through. What advice would you give to somebody wanting to get into leadership?
A couple things. One, make sure that before you step into leadership that you're not overwhelmed by your job.
Mm-hmm.
When I took the presidency, I probably was a little bit early. It's still very early in my tenure at Creighton, and I was still building, and I would say that I was probably a couple to 3 or 4 years too early doing it. So that would be the first thing, is make sure that you have the time to put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is important, and it is something that our profession, our association really relies on. Good leadership. I think of Rob and I think of Rusty.
Mm-hmm. The guys who tell you it's only a couple meetings a year.
Just a few minutes. Yeah. It doesn't take much.
It's not. You have to spend some time.
Yeah.
I know, my mentor at Syracuse, Don Lowe, was the president of the New York State Association. In fact, I think he was the president of District 2 at the time when I was with him. It took a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and when we were trying to go through that Practice Act exercise, that took a lot of time too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's really, really important to make sure that you have the time. And And secondly, recognize it's a servant role. You're trying to serve the constituency of the athletic trainers in the state, represent them well. And so, it's not something to puff yourself up or put something on the resume. It's work. And it's something that you really need to, again, kind of process and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. So that's what I'd say.
That's great advice.
That's great. We talked about leadership. What would you give advice to a young athletic trainer going into athletic training within their first 0 to 5 years?
Well, it's funny. So on my my first college visit, I went into college, I'm going to be an athletic trainer. And the first thing that the head athletic trainer at Eastern Illinois University tried to do was talk me out of it. And, because he said, you're not going to have weekends, you're not going to have holidays, and the pay is low. And at the time it was really low. But the pay is low, the hours are long, you're going to be underappreciated. Do you still want to do this? And I did. And, what I would say is really, again, count the cost. One of the other things he said is that your spouse needs to know the time commitment that you have.
That's true.
So the work-life balance, you see so many athletic trainers get into it and then they leave it because they don't understand the time commitment, the culture of it. And that's where, I worry about our education process going to the master's level because, one, I don't think you can teach athletic training 2 years. And two, I just think that you really, really have to understand the culture of it. So in order to do it and do it for any long period of time. And so what I would say is, again, do it for the right reasons. This is a service profession.
It is. Yep.
And you find so many kids that want to do it and other professionals that want to do it because, hey, I want to be around sports. Well, eventually, there are so many sporting events that they just kind of run together.
That's so true.
And the competition really doesn't become enough. And so the valuable things of the profession are the touch points of impact that you have, are the kids that you're able to service. And you're able to support and help see them start, you go through the process of evaluation, referral, initial treatment, and then, if it's a season-ending injury, a long-term rehab, and seeing them come back. That's the
a tearjerker for me.
Yep. That's my number one reason.
That really needs to be why you're doing it. It's not about the competition. It's great. I always wanted our teams to win, but in the end, if our teams lost and nobody got hurt, it was a good day.
That's a win-win.
Yep.
And especially when you see what happened with the young man from Buffalo. The impact you can have on people's lives, and a lot of times, again, we're underappreciated. It's nice that I think it's Danny Kellington was recognized for the work that he did, and that entire team did. But there's still so many who don't know what an athletic trainer really is.
Yes, it's always education. We're always, but we got to toot our own horn too.
Yeah.
No one's going to do it for us, so we got to do it. So,
Sure.
And we thank you for being one of those people for us. We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for you, and then the ones before you and after you, and.
Well, you're way overestimating me. You try and make a small mark and hopefully leave things better than when you started. So
Your mark has been made for sure.
Yes. Well, we want to thank you for being with us today, and tell us a little bit about your journey. Like you said, you were at Creighton, and what settings have you been in?
Well, So I was assistant trainer at Kansas State for 3 years, and then I came to Creighton in 1990. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I mentioned earlier is the job can consume you, and it consumed me pretty heavily. And fortunately, the athletic director at Creighton gave me an opportunity to continue to oversee athletic training and still cover some sports, you know, or some events when they were needed. You know, they pull the old bull out of the pasture when they really got desperate. But what I would say is, you know, I moved into administration and oversaw a lot of different things, not just athletic training, but did that for 32 years, and just with some leadership changes there at Creighton, I moved out of there, and I'm now at a company here, an orthopedic company here in Omaha, as lab and education specialist, which is valuable, and I think I really enjoyed it so far. I've only been doing it for 3 or 4 months.
Your experience with athletic training probably does really well in that.
It does, you know, and actually I'm learning a lot, and in fact, a lot more about, you know, surgery and orthopedic types of things that, you know,
you just knew the surface of it. Now
you know, I mean, really getting deep. The company that I'm working for really does a tremendous job with the education.
Okay.
So
that's fun. Always keep learning.
Yep.
always keep learning.
Well, we thank you so much for being here today, and happy
Thanks for having me.
President's Day and President's Month in our book.
We're
So
celebrating
thank
all
you.
month.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
All right.